So good morning, everybody is, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And so I would like to report on our experience with the UN swap. In fact, FAO already started to do some analysis on the work carried out with regard to gender equality and mainstreaming gender equality into evaluations. We did an internal gender stock-taking exercise before UN swap. So once UN swap arrived, also this was a kind of push for us to go farther into this process and to do it systematically. You didn't. Here. Okay. This one. Okay, fine. So this was 1 minute.
Yes.
You have understood.
Okay,
Exactly. No. And okay, so we carried out this analysis on 28 evaluations, which included project evaluations, thematic, and country strategic evaluations. In order to do that, we had to, we really use internal resources. We had a dedicated consultant, and she reported to have spent 10 days of her time, let's say, working on that. In fact, it seemed quite more, but apparently this was the time she devoted to the exercise. How did she carry out the exercise? She basically reviewed the terms of reference, the evaluation reports, and also in some cases carried out interviews, but most of the work was carried out on the available documentation, background documentation. We still miss an internal restitution of this work carried out in OED. That means that part of the methodology will include that at some point we will sit around the table with this consultant and hear and talk about the results of the UN swap. What are the strengths that we have identified? For sure, it stimulates regular internal analysis. It pushes in that direction. As we said, we had already started that, but for our colleagues, in fact, even the gender stock-taking exercise that we carried out the year before was done looking at the UN swap exercise and the fact that we had to harmonize among UN entities the way we looked at gender. So this was a kind of external push to go in that direction. And within FAO, it is really, I don't know how other colleagues perceive this, how it looks like in their own entities and agencies, but for FAO, it's really useful to have this kind of external push. Yes, we also find that it will be really a good opportunity to exchange views with other UN entities. We also started a common work with EFAD in Rome, also with regard to other issues which concern gender, which is training. And the fact of having a common ground based on the UN swap really could help us to go farther into this exercise, or to develop a common language. What about the scoring system, strengths and weaknesses? On one side, it's a strong scoring system. A very simple scoring system, 1, 2. So you have, you can't really, it's quite simple. On the other hand, it allows, and this is part of the weaknesses, it really does not allow a lot of flexibility. And you really miss nuances when it comes to define certain aspects of the evaluation. We found some redundancy without entering really into the detail, which are very specific. There are some issues which are mostly related, for example, on the integration of gender equality, where and what, how it's done, or in the methodology. So there are things which are really very subtle, and I think probably this can be simplified. And also with regard to the structure, currently there is a lot of emphasis on the methodology part. So there are lots of criteria which fall under the methodology, which also at the end of the day make a big part of the performance indicator. Not all criteria are applicable for OED. So, for example, we don't carry out any availability assessment, and also the validation process and determination activities was not applicable. But this is something that also, I mean, we have to stay with it. I mean, it will be difficult to find criteria that will be globally valid for everybody. It's something that we have to discuss and find where we understand where we can go. So, yeah, we did some proposals, but we can think about it. And with regard to the proposal, one thing could be just to refine the scoring system, maybe insert decimals or look at how we can just make it more flexible. Modify the structure can be an option in the sense that for example, we would like to have more emphasis on the reporting part, because also the implementation methodological part, it's fine. We call it now methodology in the UN swap. I mean, it already includes a part of the implementation phase, but it's fine. The name is not so important. It's just that there is not so much emphasis on the report, probably, and it could be changed. We don't have a separate criteria for recommendation, and maybe we missed that. Because there is really, it makes a change. You can have a coherent evaluation report also, and which includes also a lot of statements with regard to gender equality, etc. But you sometimes, and it's a recurrent issue in our reports. It doesn't lead necessarily to a recommendation. So we have a well-structured report with a lot of findings and interesting conclusions, but then we don't arrive to the recommendation. So having, I mean, a dedicated recommendation, also the quality of the recommendation could make a sense. And then, as we said, there are some criteria which are not applicable. Now we have the case of OECD, but it might be also the case of other colleagues, and so we should see how we can go about it. Yes. So, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Catherine, Luisa, for a very clear analysis of your experience, with a very clear analysis of strengths, weaknesses, and also concrete proposal on how to strengthen the system.